One of the things we got to realize too is metal was a very youthful genre. Let's say in the 80s, 90s. Hey, thank you, boys. Thank you, boys. Varvis, what's your favorite Death album and song? Right now, it kind of switches all the time, but I'm going to go with The Sound of Perseverance. And I've really, really been fucking with the song To Forgive Is to Suffer lately. That song's been slapping. But I think, of course, right, you always got to go Crystal Mountain. Always a banger. Become a big fan of Flattening of Emotions, as well as Trapped in a Corner. I feel like it's easier to pick one song off each album. But okay, Barb's talking about this earlier, some friends, but do you think that discourse on Chuck suffers from great man theory at times? Yes. Yes. So for anyone not aware, great man theory is this, I wouldn't say it's like a debunked theory of history, but it's definitely sort of like an older way of thinking in history. So in history, the great man theory would be like moments in history and big events are precipitated by great men pulling the levers to make it like as simple as you possibly could, right? And when you look back in history, it is an easy way to think about that, right? You have the general at the top of the army telling the army to march that way, right? But that doesn't take into account, the general's secretaries, all the people in the army, his sergeants, his lieutenants, his captains, the people on the ground, digging the roads, forging the food for the army ahead of it, right? There's a lot of other people that go into that. And when you apply that to metal, right, you can really look at it and say, oh, this guy created death metal, right? That would be the great man theory when it comes to death metal. But, right, when you really actually think about it, Chuck Schuldiner, he wasn't the guy to create death metal. Sure, he was a big part of it, but he was also playing with other bands in the same scene, and they would hear each other and like feed off each other. That's why scenes would grow back in the day, right? You only had this small group of people, local people you're probably playing with, right? So if Chuck was the first guy to make Scream Bloody Gore, you also need to take into account, okay, the people that he played with live, the recording engineers. So does it suffer from great man theory? I think it kind of suffers a lot from, what can you even call this? Fallen rock star theory, I guess you could say, fallen rock star hypothesis, and the fact where people are just unwilling to say negative things about him or his music because he passed away in a very tragic circumstance. I guess maybe that'd be the better way I put it. I don't think it's possible for one person to just come up with a genre of music by themselves with no external influences. I totally agree. I think the biggest area where discourse on him actually suffers this regard with prog, tech death, bands like Atrocity feel like it kind of completely ignored despite being so ahead. Yeah, I also think, and this is like a totally different topic, but metal really has like a nostalgia problem, a nostalgia crisis, I would say, where everything is nostalgic and everything is centered around recapturing that feeling at that certain time where that genre is popping off. And I'm totally a huge part of this problem too. I talk about old metal all the time. So let me know what you guys think. Metal has a nostalgia problem. What do you guys think of that? Okay, I think we'd end the video here. But yeah, very interesting topic here. Okay, Dissident says, as far as viability of YouTube, think about how we don't really have many big new celebrities in the age of internet. There were fewer places for media. More attention was focused on fewer things. Emmy as well. What's up, Brian? What's up, buddy? But I find it harder to enjoy the new trends. Dude, I absolutely totally do as well. I feel like the problem is truly twofold. There's that, but there's also a lot of carge competition of people whose only idea is pushing metal forward, placing it apart for other more popular genres. Yes. Yes, it's sort of like metal has always sort of like prided itself on being the most extreme music, the most abrasive, the most technical music out there. And you can only really do that to like a certain extent, right? So it's in this weird, almost like limbo state right now where either you have to go back and try to copy and, become like nostalgia worshiping another band, or you have to look so far forward that it moves so far away from what most people consider metal to becoming something completely different. You know what I mean? I wish more people would focus on just having fun and making good music instead of making it big. That's what I try to do. Man, it's so true, but it's sort of like if you do that, then there's like no financial reward to doing so. And then if there's no financial reward, there's no incentive for you to continue doing it, right? Maybe you'll go put a whole bunch of work, pull a bunch of effort into one album. It comes out, 500 views, maybe you get 2K views on your music video or something. And then what's the point, bro? Then you're just even more burnt out because you spent all this time, all this money, all this energy for no reward, right? Because let's not pretend that financial rewards and incentives aren't a huge part of it, right? Of course, there's the making art for art's sake argument, but that can only take you so long in a world where, You know, your rent's going up every day. You know, you guys know what I mean. Your rent's always going up. Food's getting more expensive. Inflation's getting crazier. You know what I mean? This is very, very difficult. Society in general, it has a nostalgia crisis. It's exacerbated by the internet and social media, permanently keeping old stuff relevant past its prime. I totally agree here. Absolutely beautiful. Another problem I see is that we're both trying to fix is that all the content centered around, say, the old school death metal bands of Cannibal Corpse is not well-made content or the 100th album review. I 100% agree, bro. 100% agree, Brian. Always hear metalheads complaining when music comes out that sounds like what every other band has been doing for years. But then when a band does something new and progressive, they hate that too. Yes.
One of the most popular bands from Mexico.
That's so true, Jeff. That boy! It's fusion between My Chemical Romance and Fall Out Boy, one of the most popular bands from Mexico. Oh, interesting. I got a couple friends in Mexico right now. Yo, shout out Leo if you ever see this, bro. Okay, so I'll read the rest of these chats and then I'll move it on to the music because I can just sit here and just chat with you guys for hours upon hours. I think the reason there's nostalgia metal because there's general decline in media quality. People don't read things to draw inspiration. They don't focus. Yeah, I totally agree. 100% dissident. There's just a decline in like everything. And I'll touch on that in a second here as well. They call anything doesn't fit into their favorite subgenre, not metal, and hate on it, but they also hate on stale, played out sound. Can't have it both ways if you like music. So it was all metal and Canyon to cringe. Pretty much, I would say metal in general is big time Canyon of cringed right now for sure. Great video, by the way. Thank you. I appreciate it. A lot of the appeal in bands like Sleep Token is being as non-metal as humanly possible, though. It's hardly the sort of experimentation that yielded bands like our Thought Industry or Mekong Delta. Yes. I'll say this one thing, and then we'll move right on to our boys' EP that he wants us to listen to. But I think one of the things we got to realize too is metal was a very youthful genre. Let's say in the 80s, 90s, you look almost every big band, including bands that sort of peaked in the 2000s. So let's say like Lamb of God, Trivium, Bullet for My Valentine. You look, almost all these people were born in the 60s, the 70s, and like early 80s. So there was like this 30-year period of time where there's just a lot of youth, a lot of vivacity in the culture itself, right? In Western culture. So I'm pretty much talking about like Germany, you know, France, you know, UK, Netherlands, North America, blah, blah, blah. There's just a lot of like vivacity and energy in that. It's like youthful. There's a large cohort of young people moving through, right? The baby boom generation. And now we're coming to the age where all those baby boomers are old. They're not making good art anymore. People my age, right, for the most part, they're too broke to be making good music, right? It's hard to make money making music. It's hard to just make a living in general, right? So you're too broke to be putting all your energy and time into making this music. So you have to do like these bedroom projects, which usually aren't always as good as like working with a whole band, right? So it's sort of like we as a society are longing for the youth energy of the 70s, 80s, and 90s, where the baby boomer generation was in their 20s, was in their 30s, and even in like their, you know, early 40s, right? You still have a lot of youthful energy to go. So I think that's a large problem of that, right? Our society is just old. Our society is just sort of decaying, rotting from the inside out, you could say. And this is reflecting in the art that we're making. And of course, there's going to be cool art being made all the time. Like you can't separate it totally, right? But on a larger macro scale, if more people are having to work 2 jobs to survive, 2 jobs to do this, whatever, more time you have to spend into just living, the less time you have to focus on making art, right? On macro trends, right? Let's say if back in the 80s, out of 100 people, right? Let's just go over 100 people. 20 of those people, you know, could live frugally enough off a couple shifts a week to be in a band full time, to go on tour, to do this. Now, if today that number is only 10 out of 100 people, you're missing out on half the people who would be giving their time, their energy, their life essence to creating art, right? And that's a huge part of this problem. And this goes forward too, right? This goes into metal YouTube. This goes into YouTube content. This goes into metal. This goes into how people look at metal. This goes into the fascination with nostalgia regarding metal. This goes into how people are sort of stuck trying to chase the most extreme things they can because it's the only way to attract attention and to make a decent amount of money off metal in 2025. Does that make sense to you guys here? I haven't been reading any chats. I've kind of just been like skimming them. But yeah, what do you guys think of that? That's my whole ramble, my spiel, is that it's not only a calcification of metal, it's like a calcification of the bones of society, right? The people. You can't have society without people, and you can't Oh, sorry, boys. And if even the young people who would be creating and doing interesting, novel things can't afford to be doing that, or can't afford to be giving as much time to it, as much energy. Yo, Russo, what's up? Hey, thank you. Then it affects society, art as a whole. Hey, thank you so much, Russo. I'll put it right in the queue. Thank you so much. I also feel like there's a lot of decline in art and entertainment. There's not too much going on. You don't feel excitement. Yep, that goes back to youth. Youth as a culture. There are people trying to write stories who don't bother learning about fundamental writing concepts like themes, motifs, tones, meta-narratives, etc. Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. That's why, at least for me in my music, as long as other people like Fanstream, Hemotoxin, like you talk to all these guys and they go back and they really study the music, right? Art in general has become very corporate. It has to capture attention to make money or just straight up doesn't get made. Absolutely, bro, 100%. Or you have to self-fund it all yourself like Fanstream does, which is very, very impressive. Damn, the stream got deep. Absolutely, bro. I'm glad that Canada still has some grants that help artists with their creative endeavors or go on tour. Neil, can you send me a link to some of those, buddy? How do I get those grants? I would like to do that. This is also the point of metal, to go against society, rebel, to do your own thing, change the world. This is what a lot of metal lyrics are about. I agree to a certain extent, but it seems like most of the time that was sort of blowing smoke, I guess you could say. I feel the part where you have to work some shitty job where you're trying to get your music, art / videos going. Yeah, absolutely, man. I feel that. And now metal's having the same problem as society itself, which is really sad. Yes, it's like a crisis of youth, you could say. Yeah, one of the indicators, this is how movie trailers basically give away their entire premise and their plot twist because people won't invest time into things. Movies are suffering from the same things, right? It's a nostalgia crisis. You're making the same amount of movies because who has money to go see movies? It's boomers who are all very nostalgic for, or boomers, Gen X, you know, elder millennials who are all very nostalgic for things that came out in the 80s and 90s, which is when artistically Western culture was peaking. And I don't think that is very provocative to say, right? 80s and 90s is when Western culture is really peaking. We're a chatty bunch today. Yeah, chat's popping off here. By the way, agreed, but I think it all comes back to wealth gap and inequality, economic inequality. It's not really a youth crisis. I think it's both. It's both at the same time, right? If the youth doesn't have the money in general, they're not going to create more youth because they can't afford it. And that exasperates the youth and exasperates the income inequality as time goes on. Now, 20 years from now, when most of the boomer generation has died off, maybe we'll see. But I don't know. I definitely agree, though. The average person in like 1983 was much better equipped and well off to sort of support himself while diving deep into an artistic endeavor than a person in 2025. I would say. By the way, any big plans this year before the world goes under? Yeah, we're going to Belgium in August, so hopefully there's not a nuclear war then. That'd be nice. People's attention spans are basically non-existent these days, which makes it hard for bands to craft well-written, fully fleshed out songs because they have to worry about audience retention. I think if you're sacrificing your art in the guise of audience retention, you've already lost the plot totally. But at the same time, that doesn't mean you should just pump out 9-minute prog epics and pretend that people don't like the songs just because they don't have the attention span, right? You need to, fundamentally, at the end of the day, you need to write and craft well-written songs. And most of the time, that means shorter songs. The shorter the song is, the harder it is to write, in my opinion. All right, let's go. Dragon Chaser. New Gent/Thal EP, our boy was saying. Oh, look, there's our boy here. Oh, it's your band, bro. It's your band. Oh, hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. What are you playing in this? Are you a guitarist, vocalist, drum programmer? So I guess, yeah, heavy heart, bro. You could chime on this. How are you feeling about this current state of metal and the drive you have to take, right? Hit you with that like and the sub, buddy. I did everything, including vocals, except mixing, mastering. Oh, shit, bro. So this is like a one-man band, and you did everything. Damn, that is very, very impressive. Everybody go give our boy some love. Dissident says, yeah, people don't talk about time as a resource. People are deprived of time to invest in things because of increasing workloads and stating, waiting for more time, we just cope with apps. Bro, I think that's the most apt way you could have possibly put it, right? Not only is money becoming harder and harder to acquire and is worth less and less, that means fundamentally that you have to invest more time out of your life. Time, which is the most precious finite resource that you have, into doing these things that you don't want to do, which makes it so you have less time and less energy afterwards to pursue these artistic endeavors. And I think fundamentally that's the ultimate question here, and the ultimate response is that people just fundamentally don't have the time to spend diving deep, developing a craft, working on something new and novel, because time is itself is expensive, right? Many friends have said to me that they don't earn that much from shows. Most of the time I'd pay you with beer. Yeah, that's the worst part, man, is like, yeah, you come up, oh, we'll pay you bar tab. Okay, well, what if you don't drink, bro? Like, I want to make money. I don't perform for free, sort of thing, right? Wait, is this a 7-minute song or it's an EP? It's an EP, bro. Our boy paid to listen to the whole thing. Okay, so Heavy Heart, I gotta pause it every once in a while, otherwise YouTube gets mad at me. But give me like a short, brief gestalt of what you're trying to say with this music here. I would really love to hear that. Let's read. We got a couple more comments that I gotta pause it anyways to read. Dissident says we're expected to spend the prime of our life chasing the bag on a promise of retiring when we're too old to enjoy it, while our bosses cross their fingers behind our backs. Dude, 100% totally agree. That was one of the main reasons why I quit my, you know, big boy full-time career at a financial advisor at a bank. Because what's the point, man? If I don't have energy to live, you know, what's the point? I want to create art. I want to do something. I just don't want to exist and consume, right? I want to create as well. I once played a solo piano gig 2 hours and they refused to pay me because they said they thought I was going to play all day. Bro, brutal, bro. I would have, I don't know, I would have done something nasty in return. Dude, music is so damn expensive. This almost didn't happen because costs add up so quick for quality good stuff. I'm teaching myself to mix for this very reason, to be able to do everything myself. Yes, and that's another thing too, is not only do you have to spend more time, not only do you have to allocate your very precious time perfectly, but now you need to wear so many different hats. Now you need to be the marketing guy. Now you need to create the visuals. Now you need to make the music video. Now you need to organize the mixing, the mastering, or learn it yourself because it's so expensive to do it. You need to just wear many, many hats nowadays, and it's very, very, very tiring as well. Yeah, just having a job is not enough anymore. The youth can only dream of the world where it seems hopeful, ambition seems real enough. Absolutely, my man. Too long didn't read. Our boy says this EP is about the psychedelic experience and the 4 phases of a heroic dose to gain knowledge of the cosmos, exemplified through each of the 4 songs. It accumulates in the person being, I guess you'd say, I'm going to guess what you're going to say, experiencing ego death and experiencing like the secrets of the cosmos. I've like a very tangential interest in like that. I haven't done it in a very long time, and honestly, boys, I'm kind of afraid of what the mushrooms are going to tell me. Catapulted into full-blown precognitive vision of how and when the world is going to end, and he feels and experiences everyone dies before coming down and having an existential crisis. Damn, bro, that's some really heavy shit, bro. All right, let's keep that in mind as we're listening to this, boys. Okay, so yeah, we're like almost 3 minutes in here, and first of all, yeah, bro, this is like really, really heavy. But I gotta say, man, where are the riffs? All I'm hearing is just bow, bow, bow. I want some riffs. I want some riffs coming up, but I'm enjoying this though. Our boy, that's the DMT elves. Our boy knows. I thought with all the technology we have today, it'd be easy to make art and facilitate people to create masterpieces, but I don't think that has come to fruition. You think AI will kill the desire of making music? The cost is very high, and using AIs is cheaper. Videos with AI get millions of views on YouTube. Deathcore LSD and big videos sure as hell won't get any views from me. I think there's like, okay, I don't want to spend too much time on AI here because it's not part of the thing, but I think the AI problem has been going on for longer than we think. And I'm sure I've been fooled by AI music before, but to me, I won't ever want to listen to or seek out AI-driven music. You know what I mean? I'm not going to... If I find out that a band's music is all AI, I'm not going to go listen to that band, right? It's sort of like a Milli Vanilli situation, right? Once the mask comes off and I know that it's AI stuff, I'm not going to listen to it anymore. Like, I'm just not. Like, fundamentally, I'm just not going to. The only way that I think the AI will have, like, a good end is if there's some sort of, like, huge environmental uprising against it, like, hey, you can't be creating and using all this energy to create, you know, Sonic, you know, Rule 34 feet pics. You know what I mean? You can't be taking all this energy for some asshole to make, you know, a 2-hour death metal EP that he could put on Spotify. I also think that there may be a huge copyright reckoning with a lot of AI stuff coming forward. That's sort of my white pill, I guess. That was a good song. I enjoyed that one quite a bit. Much more than the first one.